Because I can't find my stuff if I don't do that. All right. Wait. Oh, here. Hey, Karen. so, so here is the ultra portable camera that is also 4x5, but this is what we call a field camera as opposed to the monorail studio camera that we've seen already. In this case, I have a little checklist so that you don't forget what to put back. And then also, I guess I must have had a badly behaved class because I have the estimate for what this box costs cumulatively. So like the view camera and the lens is sort of $1,000. The dark cloth is 60. The light meter 125. I think I just wanted to make the point of like, please don't leave this stuff around. I think that was my thought. This is not aimed specifically at anybody. This was here before. So that's what that's about. But you can use it as just a checklist to make sure. And actually, if you don't really want to check out a light meter and you want to just use your app, you certainly can just do that. Um, I'm going to actually take the view camera out, and so now the box is empty. We're going to set that out of the way. But this little handy sheet travels with it. It's just a Xerox copy from the Jim Stone book on the view camera with kind of the cheat sheet notes about setting up, the basics. Kind of a good little confidence boost to have that. And you've got, of course, a view camera loop and a red, don't lose it, kind of a release. Here is the dark cloth, which when you use it, actually, this is going to sound dumb and neurotic, but if you would, when you're done with this, fold it into doubles and then don't just sort of loosely bundle it around the camera like it was. Really wrap it like that, because what that's going to do is make sure that the padding really stays over the ground glass and stuff like that. And it fits, it fits fine in the box that way. So that's the dark cloth. And this is my dog's old collar. Because this is actually a speed graphic or a crown graphic, I forget. This is the secret button to open it. Are you ready? Oh my God, it's a James Bond camera. So yeah, this little button hidden in the leather. And then, so it pops open, and then this switch just loosens to come forward. And then you pull it forward on those rails. If there, I think it is possible to, no, it's really not. If it's aligned correctly, it'll just come straight forward on those rails as far as it needs to go. So the lens that's currently on here is a 135, which is a really nice, slightly wider angle of view than what's on the two monorail cameras. The one that you have checked out is a 180. The one here in the classroom is a 210. So in fact, as far as portraiture and closer sorts of things, the 210 might be the ideal one. The 180 is certainly good. It's still, I think that's about the equivalent of maybe about an 80 or 90 millimeter lens on a 35 millimeter camera. So it's a pretty good portrait length itself. And then the 135 is pretty close to sort of nifty-50 lens, something like that, maybe a little wider. I also have wider lenses. They're not great, but I feel like I have a 90 someplace. Anyway, I bring this up because whatever lens you have on here, it sort of determines how far out you want to pull this. I think like these little stops are set to stop it at zero position. And then when you focus it using the little knobs on the bottom of the bed, you can also see there's a distance scale here. And So normally what you would do, like they use these to shoot by hand. You know, this is the old press camera, right? So um, like this, you'd have, I don't forget how low the camera is set. Get away with aiming it higher and not pop it off. So you would be sighting through it, and you'd align this circle in the middle of that, and you could have your film holder back in there and know more or less, you know, what was in your shot. Just kind of awesome. Um, and so how that relates to what I was talking about is that over here, what you would do is these little slides, these little chuchuts that flip up and down are movable. They have a screw on them. And so presumably, you know, the person who owns the camera would set them according to whatever focal length of lens they have. And then with it at 0 position, this would be focused on infinity at this position. And so then you would be able to pre-focus using this little gauge. There's a little arrow that moves on the bed. And so you could say, you know, basically 30 feet to infinity is essentially, you know, the same thing on a lot of camera lenses. But you can see, like, if I move it up to here, the little arrows even with 6 feet, not sure if that's going to show in the video, but that means that pretty much stuff 6 feet from me is going to be tolerably sharp. I wouldn't personally use this. I just think it's really interesting to look at old cameras and know that that's how they used it, you know, a lot of the time. So I would, because y'all are using it for art, just keep these flips down, zoom this out to whatever, you know, length kind of gets you in the zone. If you're trying to take pictures that are closer to your subject, you may need to zoom it way out closer to the end. Just be careful not to, you know, rip the bellows off, obviously. Let's see how far they go. They go pretty far. I wouldn't go too much farther than that. This is leather from the 30s, you know, like it's got its limits. In fact, yeah, here's the limit on the bed. So maybe kind of limit how far you pull those bellows out in the first place. Yeah, on that. So other settings on this. This obviously doesn't have as many settings like your monorail camera, because it was really meant to be just a quick camera with fewer choices really getting in the way. But it does have a lens tilt right here. Let's see if I have the right thing. Oh, come on. Can you tell who doesn't use your own camera? Oh, there. So it's these two screws that need to loosen to release pressure on it, but not too much. And then you can tip it up like that to correct perspective more. And I want to say it slides. Yeah, you can slide a little bit side to side to adjust your composition. And that loosens up from the same thing that you loosen to pull the bellows out to set up your shot. And as you saw, the lens just stays on it when it closes up, assuming that you have in fact reset everything to 0 down here, you know, so you pulled in the bed so that things are aligned. Like 100 is with 100. It's just going to go until it stops. Then when you fold this all the way in until it stops, when you close this, there's a gap in here that accommodates that lens. So, you know, if you're closing it correctly, it should be good. I have had people forget to close the bed and close it and smash the lens. Now, you have to really try hard to smash it that hard. So just if you feel resistance, stop. I think that's what bent this shutter cocking mechanism. Maybe was this was catching on that. So just, you know, make sure you do that all the way back. I've done it on my own camera. I'm not mocking anyone, believe me. So otherwise, the lens is exactly what you're used to. You have open the shutter, close the shutter, aperture from 5.6 to 64. Your shutter speeds are this outer dial, and you cock the shutter like that, and you take the picture like that. So that part's all the same. It used to have a mechanism to take the picture with a little thing that came down and pushed the shutter. I just took that off because part of it was broken and it was going to be in the way. So this is a little more streamlined than it normally would be. The back is you just pull this out to stick your film holder in, and that's that. You know, this is not a rotating back. So with this, if you wanted to take portrait format, you would need to tilt it. It does have a tripod mount on this side. Fortunately, it's a little lighter weight, so not as big a deal. I can't think of anything else that's really terribly different from the other camera. You know, this is really more for someone who's shooting landscapes and wanting to be out and about. It would still shoot on a tripod, but you could certainly get away with the slightly lighter tripods. The ones with the little square plate as opposed to the one with the big hexagonal plate. This is certainly a heavy enough tripod for use with this camera. And yeah, so what is this? This is the Manfrotto 920 290. Dyslexia. I love you so much, Dyslexia. You confuse my students daily. So I've got a bunch of these. I've got some in the cabinet over there, but I also have 2 of them in my office just because we ran out of cabinet space. So y'all should feel free to check these out as you might need them. Balance yourself. So I think that's, like I said, I think that's it for this guy. I'll just go through closing it up. There's the lens cap. If you did cock the shutter, make sure you release it before you close it up or store it. That goes for all of your cameras. And so that locks in. Then these little guys are what you push on to close it. It just like releases a thing so that it slides. And it snaps shut. It's so great. Like this, honestly, you don't need that big case for this thing. I made this little guy to just sort of sit in there and protect the ground glass. But my field camera is sort of like this. It's about the same. And, you know, I definitely have just carried it around in my backpack a lot. Like that's sort of, and it's not even a photo backpack. It's just like a regular backpack. It's just like wrap it up in the dark cloth and throw it in there. They're hardy little beasts. But we had this from the other one. It's kind of intimidating because it's got the nuclear looking symbol on it. But if you read it, it's actually from one of Michael Williams's iron pouring buddies, like Texas Iron Commission. It's just an ad for a sculpture program. That's all it is. But it'll make thieves leave your box alone, I think. So that's that. The little guy. It's not closing. That. This is actually a waterproof case. So that means if you stick anything in those edges, it will not want to close. All right, I'm going to stop the recording because I think that is a lovely introduction there.